Asian Banking and Finance magazine caught up with Kevin Stanton, President MasterCard Advisors, to find out what the group is doing around the world and especially here in Asia.
It's hard to look at how banks have responded on a global basis. You have to break it down into two basic groups. In the United States and Europe, there's a move towards retrenchment, back to basics. It used to be said you have to get a return on your dollar. I think they're focusing on getting their dollars returned now, and that is definitely back to basics. Add to that, focus on liquidity. So liquidity and risk management. I think in markets like Asia and Canada and Brazil, which fared better in the crisis because of relatively conservative risk management policies, what you're seeing is a focus on deepening the relationship that they have with current customers. Beyond the notion of returning to the basics of banking, good sound banking, there's the concept of controlled growth. Growth in and of itself is no longer acceptable. There has to be control and good outcomes, as we said before. I think also one of the approaches you're seeing, particularly in this market, is taking a look at the traditional siloed product approach and seeing if we can do better, and looking at an overall customer relationship approach, and decking products and other tactics against the achievement of a deeper customer relationship. Some of the differences have to do with macroeconomic trends. There was just less of a downturn. Many markets suffered no recession whatsoever. That's a huge contrast to other markets. They were operating from a stronger liquidity position. There were fewer leveraged asset situations. And this has its corollary in other markets. You saw that in Brazil, you saw it in Canada, you see it in Australia as well. And I think in each of those markets you can identify a tempering experience. And the 1997 financial crisis in Asia taught regulators and banks a lot that they could build from. The complexities of dealing with the Brazilian environment for years and years and years, hyperinflation, created very sophisticated bankers. And in Canada, it really was a focus on conservative banking policies after years of economic stagnation. Well, for banks of a certain size, we have analytical skills that they don't have in-house. Large banks can augment the skills that they have. But I think foundationally, it's important to note that we have data that reaches outside of the data a bank can review to help it make better decisions. It's an interesting question. I think fundamentally MasterCard as a whole and Advisors has the ability to bring a global strength to a local agenda. I'd say in how that works within Advisors is Advisors has the ability to bring global insights to local issues or problems or challenges or opportunities. One of the important trends we expect to see in Asian markets is that strong banks will look outside of existing markets to experience that controlled growth they talked about. We have helped banks do that, and we can help banks really enhance their experiences. They reach into markets where their experience is limited. I think fundamentally Asia enjoys scale. You have several countries with large industrious populations that are only in the beginning of the cycle of growth. So as those populations burgeon into customers that banks can make profits on, the sky's the limit. So that just creates an enormous amount of headroom for Asian banks. One of the strengths of Asian banks is their ability to sophisticatedly segment opportunities and take advantage of them. I think in particular, the growth in the SME sector is going to be dramatic as banks tap into that opportunity. but they're doing it across segments. Just to think about how Asian banks have looked at women as a segment years in advance of the United States or European markets is breathtaking. I think that one other important factor about Asian markets is they're not burdened by incumbent infrastructures that are barriers to taking quick action on available technologies. And in this respect, I'm thinking of leveraging chip, mobile commerce, telephony. The sky's the limit in Asia. On top of that, there's just a willingness on the part of consumers and institutions to embrace, rather than fear, technology is just another expense. I think the important thing is for Asian banks to stick to the lessons they've learned. They've applied them well. There are opportunities that come with their privileged position, and as long as they stick to their fundamental conservatism, which gets back to that point of controlled growth, I think they'll do well.